Hi, friendzies. Welcome to my little corner of the internet where we celebrate adulting and life as it unfolds. Today was a beautiful day at work, and honestly, I didn't want anything heavy for dinner. So I thought, why not keep it simple, refreshing with a fruit salad? Sometimes the thought of adulting is always about big bills, big decision, big responsibilities, stress, and so many other negative things. But for me, I've chosen to be grateful. I've chosen to love the moment. I've chosen to do the things that keep my spirit up. And most importantly, I've chosen to talk about social issues that resonates the most with me. And talking about social issues, while I want to share my fruit dinner recipe, I would also love to share a topic that resonates with me. And in this video, that's going to be patriarchy accountability. And let me tell you from the start, patriarchy is not men versus women. I know that's what most people think. Men on one side, women on the other, but patriarchy is not a boxing match, it's a system. And the wild part is, many of us feed that system without even realizing it. So, in this video, we are going to unpack what patriarchy actually is, how it shows up in our daily lives, why it harms both men and women, and what accountability looks like in real life. So sit down, enjoy my fruit dinner recipe, and let's have these conversations. It's one of those conversations again that resonates with me the most. When you hear the word patriarchy, what comes to mind? Maybe men controlling women or women fighting back. But truth is, that is only on the surface level. Patriarchy is a framework, a structure that puts men in positions of power, socially, financially, politically, and even spiritually. It says men lead, women follow, men make decisions, women support them, men protect, women submit. And it shows up in everything: governments, schools, churches, movies, family dinners, family traditions, everything. That's not just one man telling one woman what to do, it's an entire system deciding whose voice matters and whose doesn't. And here's the part that people don't like to admit: both men and women participate in it, sometimes consciously, sometimes without even noticing. Think about it. How many times have you heard mothers telling their daughters to just sit, look cute, and play with dolls, and fathers tell their sons to go out there and play like boys? That's not just individual choices, that's the system at work. Let's go back to childhood because this is where it starts. Little boys are told, don't cry, be strong, man up. Little girls are told, be nice, be pretty, be polite. And guess what? By the time they're adults, men believe their worth is in dominance and control. Women believe their worth is pleasing others. Let me share a little story from my childhood. My parents were very intentional about raising us equally. My brother and I did chores. He cleaned, I cleaned, we washed dishes, we cooked. There was no this is for girls and this for boys. But patriarchy still found its way in. I loved playing soccer. I played all throughout primary school and even part of my high school. But every time my mom or my parent would hear that I did play soccer at school, my mom or my dad would say, this is for boys. These are boy stuff. You need to behave like a girl. You need to play girl sports. I was such an athletic kid. I loved competing and moving. But every time I heard that's not girly, that's like boys, or you behave like boys, it chipped at me. And it made me question if my joy was acceptable, if my freedom had limits, or if I had to do something that was just acceptable because I'm a girl. Meanwhile, my brother could do whatever he wanted. And honestly, if he had wanted to try something considered feminine, I know he would have felt the same pressure, just in the opposite direction. All that to say, patriarchy doesn't just live in governments or workplace. It sneaks into family conversation, into sports, into hobbies, into the way kids are encouraged or discouraged to just be themselves. That's how the system reproduces itself, through ordinary, everyday messages about what's normal for boys and what's normal for girls. Now, let's talk about who really benefits from patriarchy. On the surface, it looks like men. More freedom, more power, more respect. But let me show you both sides. When I started working, I noticed something. Men who spoke up in meetings were seen as confident. When women spoke up, sometimes it was seen as too much, too aggressive, or she's too out there. The double standard was clear. Men voices were authority, women voices were interruption. That's patriarchy in adulthood. And here is the twist: patriarchy harms men too. And let's get into that. Because patriarchy says you cannot show weakness, you cannot ask for help, you cannot be vulnerable. So men bottle up everything inside. They struggle with mental health in silence. They push themselves to the edge because asking for help feels like failure. Many die early from the stress and the burnout just because they've got to be men. So, yes, patriarchy appears to benefit men, but in reality, it cages them too. And for women, they are told to shrink, to tie their value to beauty, marriage, motherhood, to compete for male approval instead of building sisterhood and love. And then the question comes down to who wins? Who is winning in this quote unquote battle of men and women or patriarchy? The truth is, nobody. Patriarchy had us all, just in different ways. Now, here's the uncomfortable truth: patriarchy would collapse tomorrow, even today, if men held other men accountable. But too often, they don't. They laugh at sexist jokes. They stay quiet when a friend disrespects women. They dismiss women who speak up as too sensitive. And women, we play a role too. When we shame each other for being too independent, when we say, that's just how men are, boys will always be boys. When we raise sons who believe chores are just for their sisters and not for them. When we tell boys, go play out, go play with the other boys, but you tell the daughters, sit down and be a girl, be feminine, because women supposed to sit down and just look beautiful. So, do patriarchy survive because it's strong? Yes, that's also debatable. But also, patriarchy doesn't just survive because it's strong. No, it survives because people stay silent. The silence is the fertilizer that keeps it alive. Now, let's talk about one of the biggest tools patriarchy has used to keep itself alive: religion. Let me share my personal story. I grew up in a very conservative church, which, to be honest, today I call a cult. But that's a story for another day. In that church, men and women sat on separate sides. Women had to dress extremely conservative: no pants, no makeup. Some even said no perfume because your body is the temple of the Lord. Let me make this clear: I am not against modesty. If modesty is your personal choice, that's beautiful. But what I saw was not a choice, it was control. Here's the part that broke me. Many women in that same church would complain about their husbands being promiscuous, but the church focus wasn't on men's lack of discipline, it was on women's body. Cover up more, behave better, don't tempt men. See the problem? Women carried the weight of men's lack of self control. That's how patriarchy uses religion, not to uplift, but to regulate women's choices, women's body, women's life, while excusing men's harmful behavior. And when religion gets fuzzed with patriarchy, it becomes even harder to question because now it's not just culture, it's presented as God's will. But let me tell you, my friends and my sisters out there, anything that excuses injustice in the name of God is not God. It's patriarchy wearing a holy robe. And here's another layer: patriarchy survives through inheritance, passed down ways of being that destroys both men and women. Mothers telling their daughters, shrink yourself so your man feels big. Fathers telling their sons, don't be too emotional. Being distant is what makes you a man. Boys are told that roughness and emotional unavailability are strength. Girls are told marriage is the ultimate goal because what validates a woman more than a man's last name, right? Women are told you can be accomplished, but don't be too loud about it. Don't intimidate him. Men are taught you can achieve anything, but don't ever admit fear, weakness, or tenderness. And this cycle is passed down generations to generations, disguised as advice. We inherit silence, we inherit shame, we inherit smallness and hardness. But the truth is, being a man is not about emotional starvation. Being a woman is not about erasing yourself for male validation. Unlearning is uncomfortable, but it is necessary because until we question what we inherit, we will keep handing the same chains to the next and the next generation. Now, the big question comes down to how do we break this cycle? How do we hold patriarchy accountable? How do we stop passing it down from generation to generation? Personally, I think talking about it helps. We start calling things out the way they are. You refuse to play along. Don't laugh at sexist jokes. Don't excuse harmful behavior with boys will be boys. Don't shrink yourself to make someone else feel big because he's a man. Raise children differently. Teach boys it's okay to cry. Teach girls leadership is not arrogance. Teach kids that chores are just being a responsible adult and not a gender role. And another thing, we need to hold each other accountable. Men need to correct men, women need to check other women, and together we can make a difference. You may not change the whole world, but change the world around you. Change your family, change your children, change how you bring up your children, how you want to raise them, how you want to teach them. We may not change the whole world, but we need to talk about this. So, here's the truth: patriarchy is not a battle of sexes, it's a system, and every time we excuse it, we keep it alive. But every time we challenge it, call it out, or refuse to participate, we weaken it. So, in the next video, we are going to dig deeper into why men avoid accountability and how male bonding often becomes a cover for silence. But until then, my friends, please tell me down in the comment below. What would you like to talk about? How do you feel about this conversation? I'm an open book and I would love to keep these social conversations going, but I want to also be able to speak with people out there and not just throw out my opinions without hearing your opinions, your upbringing, your story. What is your story? And I will emphasize on this again, it's not a man versus woman thing. I don't want men to come down in the comment below and think I attacked them. No, it's a conversation and we are all learning and unlearning. Most importantly, unlearning the old ways. All right, friends, here we are with this colorful fruit salad dinner. And before we wrap up, I want you to remember this: taking care of yourself is not selfish, it's necessary. What you feed your body, your mind, your soul, it all reflects back at you. Just like these fruits, each one adding something different. Our lives need balance, sweetness, and freshness. This fruit salad is simple, but it's also symbolic. I chose each fruit. I cut it with care. I built something nourishing out of what was available to me. And that's exactly what unlearning old, destructive patterns looks like. We don't have to accept everything handed down to us. We can pick, choose, and build something better for ourselves. Same thing back to unlearning. So, tonight, as I sit here with this fruit dinner, I'm reminding myself I'm allowed to take up space. I'm allowed to nourish myself. I'm allowed to question and unlearn the things that do not serve me. And so are you. When we talk about patriarchy, accountability, and learning, it can feel heavy. It can feel like too much, but small intentional choices like what we eat, how we treat ourselves, what beliefs we choose to hold on to are how we break cycles. So, my friends, thank you so much for sharing this little fruit salad dinner story time with me. I hope this conversation resonates with you, and even if it doesn't, I'd still love to hear your thoughts. Let's keep the dialogue open because change doesn't happen in silence. And as I mentioned early in the beginning, it's not a man versus woman conversation. It's people versus a system that has been built and passed down from generation to generation. And hey, go ahead and try this fruit salad recipe. It's healthy, refreshing, and honestly, a small act of self love on a plate. All right, my friends, until next time, remember, what do I always say? Life has no script, just live it. Don't forget to like, subscribe, tell a friend to join this conversation. Until next time, friends, bye.